when you look at the numbers, and maybe I'll just focus on a small number of numbers for now, but if you can try and remember these, there is $30 billion of climate finance in Africa. 4 billion of that 30 comes from Africa, and the rest comes from international sources. Okay, and Evans will probably talk about this later, but 2 billion of the 4 billion, in fact less than 2 billion, comes from private capital. Okay, so of the 4 billion in Africa, only 2 billion comes from the African private sector. And of that 2 billion, you can imagine that a significant chunk of that comes from corporations that are investing in, these are energy companies that are financing their own growth, or agriculture companies and so on. So we can estimate, I don't have the exact number, but we can estimate that the financial sector in Africa is producing perhaps 1 billion of the current 30 billion that is at work on climate action, which is an incredibly small number. And as we know, the 30 billion overall is about a tenth of what the continent says it needs in order to drive climate action. So we need to find ways to get that billion up to somewhere closer to 100 billion over the next 5 to 10 years if we're going to make a dent in what's needed. And I think there are ways to do that. And I'm sorry if you think that sounds over-optimistic, but when you think about the regulatory reforms that there are, the discussions that are going on internationally about getting more capital in from better use of MDB balance sheets and so on and so forth, when you think about structural changes like carbon market development, which can itself leverage private finance, I think there's grounds to be cautiously optimistic that we can make a big dent in that very large number. And capital markets can play a very significant role in facilitating that. So that's why we look forward to these kinds of discussions, and because I think they'll create the partnerships and collaboration that will help to drive that sort of innovation. And then, so there's a sort of numbers thing I just wanted you to think about, but also one of the other themes that we continually need to emphasize is this thing about mainstreaming. So, climate finance isn't a different thing. It's actually part of our lives. And so we need to move away from thinking that, we need to invest in this and there isn't the money now to invest in green stuff over here. It's all part of the same picture. So we have green buildings, we have green agriculture, we have green aviation even. And so we need to sort of change the way we think about climate finance into making it actually part of the whole financial discussion anyway. And there is these, as I said to a number of you yesterday, there are these very profound, super tanker-like shifts in the global financial system, led by large institutions in the global north, moving towards changing the architecture around sort of disclosures, financial disclosures on ESG, taxonomies, and the way capital is invested, which will affect capital markets, financial markets in Nigeria and in the wider continent. Those things, you can't avoid that sort of change from taking place. So it is becoming mainstream, and we're here to help everybody on that journey, or that transition.
The British government is committed to supporting Nigeria's financial sector, especially the capital market, to become more innovative, sustainable, resilient, as we face emerging challenges such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and environmental degradation, all of which are extremely big issues in Nigeria and increasingly large issues affecting the lives of many millions of people. So particularly strong issues here in Nigeria. And as we cope with these, the need to finance solutions to this, is ever more important. So a roundtable like this to create a collaborative and market approach to generating sustainable private funds for impact, is all the more important. And sustainable and, innovations that produce returns, of course, are of paramount importance. So to sustain consistent economic growth, Nigeria will need to attract climate smart and private investments and mobilise private finance in order to address some of these challenges, especially in the context of a government that is so fiscally constrained. The British government is working across multiple sectors involved in climate finance to promote knowledge and implementation of climate finance policies, both in public and private sectors. So, for example, we're assisting the mainstreaming of Nigeria's NDC across federal government's budgets. We're working on PPP, pipeline development, through our UK NIAF project, that's our infrastructure project. We're supporting Nigeria's energy transition through UK Pact and others. Supporting with guarantees through innovative finance in collaboration with InfraCredit, who I'm pleased to hear today, and supporting off-grid renewable energy adoption. So through FSD Africa, and just a quick, once again, thank you to the team for organising these events, and we're really pleased that you're doing the scoping, that you're re-engaging and expanding your work here, and we stand ready to support that. So thanks again to the FSDA team. And through FSDA, we've supported the development and issuance of novel instruments such as green bonds for both sovereign and private issuers. And we've supported market participants with technical advisory support for deal origination and transaction facilitation. We also work through British Investment Partnerships, which is a broader suite of offers, which includes British International Investment, formerly CDC, UK Export Finance, and then a series of additional products that provide technical assistance that are branded as expertise. It's my hope that through this roundtable there'll be greater understanding of Nigeria's economic financing needs, opportunities such as agricultural water and other ways to use innovative financing structures. And we really hope that this roundtable will provide an opportunity to attract additional institutional funds, and that's much needed, channeling even more private finance into some of these objectives. But to be supported to do so is really important to us.